sister's a therapist and I tell jokes. We both want to help all kinds of folks.
Hello, and welcome to My Sister's a Therapist. My name is Virginia Jones. I'm a stand-up comedian, and I make this podcast with my sister, Laura Ryan, who is a therapist.
Hello, I'm Laura Ryan. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, but my main credit is sister to Mirth Machine, Virginia Jones.
On this podcast, we take turns looking into something that's been interesting to us lately. One of us springs it on the other, like a bear jumping out of a closet door.
That happens all the time.
If it did happen, you'd remember it.
Like a set of encyclopedias falling off the wall. That happened to me once.
Oh, God. Was it the World Books?
Yes. I had built these shoddy, poor quality shelves in my college bedroom, nailed the shelves to the wall, and they held up for a good long time. But one night at 3 a.m., they all fell down. And I remember thinking that there was an earthquake, but it was actually the World Book collection falling to the ground.
I know we have 3 Gen Z people who listen to this, but in the olden days, you didn't have Wikipedia. Wikipedia is actually named after encyclopedia, which is a gathering of basic knowledge. You would go to the library, or failing that, you would look up something in a set of encyclopedias, and it would tell you stuff about when the moon landing was and when Ronald Reagan was born and all this kind of stuff. Your family would get you a set. And our dad was kind enough to buy us World Book, and we really got a lot of use out of it. We researched in it. I would use the smaller ones to hit my brother.
That's a really good use. A was actually not that big.
RST, you're trying to kill somebody, but you can hit someone with an H.
Hit me with an H. That's what the kids should start saying.
Hit me with an H on that. A friend was telling me a story in their grocery store when they were a kid. There was a program where you got this many groceries or this many stamps, you would get a free encyclopedia. And every month it was a different letter. He got really into getting these encyclopedias. But after M, they said, okay, well, if you've been enjoying these, then you need to buy the rest of the set. It was a bait and switch.
That is really tacky.
It's really, really terrible. All these people were like, oh, we're going to get free encyclopedias. We just have to shop at this store consistently.
And also encyclopedias were prohibitively expensive.
Of course, the kids were like, oh, finish the set. And his dad was like, no, we got bamboozled. And I am not doing this from the principle of the thing, which I 100% understand.
But now I have no knowledge past the letter M.
You're just going to have to pick and choose about what you're going to write your essay on.
Does it have an A in it? Does it have a C?
He feels that he has an overage of knowledge. He read the encyclopedias that he had. He went through all of them in A through M.
You should have given me a call because I had the rest.
Yeah. Laura, today's episode is more of a fun one, and it touches on stuff we've done before. If you know everything about one subject, you know something about every subject. One of my college professors told me in her part of the world, it was English. If you knew everything about literature, you were going to know a lot about other stuff. My realm was art history and fashion history. The only way I have any possibility of knowing where Napoleon was in the timeline is tracing it back to Regency dress.
When you have recorded 121 episodes.
What I would like to talk about today is the Mandela Effect. The Mandela Effect was named by paranormal researcher Fiona Broome after she discovered many people shared her false memory that Nelson Mandela died in prison in the 80s when he actually died in 2013. Some of the explanations are we're jumping timelines, we've all been hypnotized. It's confabulation. It's filling in gaps with memory and social reinforcements. The things that we believe are because that's the path of least resistance. It was brought up in my memory recently because a friend asked the question, do you guys know how to spell the band Chumbawamba, who said they got knocked down, but they got up again, and you're never going to get them down?
I'm sure it's something weird. I would say it's Chumbawamba, and instead of U's, there are V's.
That's a good guess. I think it has to do with being Americans versus being British people. I would have bet money that it was Chumbawamba, Chumbawamba. It's Chumbawamba.
We're just mispronouncing it?
Well, that's how we say it in the States. That's how we've always said it. I think that it's how you would say Chumbawamba. If you're British, I think you would say Chumbawamba. If you're in America, you're going to say Chumbawamba. We're going to spell it how Americans spell it. But I had to go look at album covers. You're kidding me. It's always been Chumbawamba, and it's always been Chumbawamba.
You sure you haven't jumped a timeline?
The first one that I became aware of was probably the first one you became aware of, the Bearenstain Bears.
You mean the Bearenstain Bears?
Exactly. Many people remember that it was Bearenstein, E-I-N, but it's always been Bearenstain Bears. I couldn't believe it.
You say that, but people have come up with copies of the book where it's EIN.
I'm unsure. I've seen those posts. I'm unsure. When you look at most of the books, it's AIN.
Maybe they reprinted it and changed it.
It's the author's decision to call it that.
Well, maybe there was some sort of copyright issue. I very recently owned every copy of the Bearenstain Bears book collection. They were all AIN, but these were all brand new books.
Bearenstain is a Jewish name, and it means amber. Shifting to Berenstein is an Americanization, and even naming it Bearenstain is an Americanization. The original spelling would have been Bearenstain, and it would have been Ukrainian. According to the son of the family, Michael Bearenstain, the confusion dates back to Stan's childhood when a teacher told him that it was spelled Bearenstain. So you've got people correcting the family for their own spelling.
So when this child was a kid, his own teacher said to him, "You are misspelling your name."
So I think Bearenstain is just so not American. And Berenstein, we understand that name.
There's a lot of Steens in America.
I think that Americans will just average out their understanding of spelling. And that's why they misremembered that it's Berenstein from Berenstein, because Berenstein, by Stan and Jan Berenstein, was not a spelling that we were used to. We know Frankenstein. Our brain kind of fills in the most likely scenario. Nelson Mandela was imprisoned in the 80s. I became aware of it at the club Monopolies because they were playing the song Free Nelson Mandela.
We used to call that club Monopolies.
It was an all-ages club in Dallas. The Specials did a song. I remember being in the bathroom at Monopolies, and there was the lady who sold us Aquanet and perfume for $1.
In the bathroom, yes.
In the bathroom. She really had a whole spread. And I remember thinking, well, I don't know who Nelson Mandela is, but I don't think he should be in prison.
You just decided he could have been a mass murderer as far as I'm concerned.
Don't. Well, if the Specials think he should be free, then I think so as well.
If someone wrote a pop song about it, then it must be true. I think we did a timeline jump, or it's some other conspiracy.
Snow White is often quoted as mirror, mirror on the wall.
Yeah.
The line is magic mirror on the wall.
That's BS in a blanket, bro.
That kind of error can be just because one person started saying it that way. We like this rhythm of rhyming, mirror, mirror. We like that repetition. There's things about our culture that make other explanations seem more likely than they are. No one ever says, play it again, Sam, in Casablanca, one of the most commonly misquoted things. He said, you played it for her, you can play it for me. If she can stand it, I can. Play it. And the song is As Time Goes By. No one ever said play it again.
What? We just started misquoting a movie as a group. Okay.
Because Play It Again, Sam, it sounds funner and more friendly.
It sounds jazzier.
It's all based on the same misquote. We're taking something and funneling it down to our easiest understanding. Fruit of the Loom. This one got me also. The logo of Fruit of the Loom.
Mm-hmm. It's got some grapes in it.
Got some grapes. It's got an apple.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a banana for sure.
And an orange.
Is there anything else you remember?
The words Fruit of the Loom in a half circle.
It's a full circle, but that's a very good memory. Many people remember a cornucopia that the fruit is coming out of.
Oh, right.
Not there. Has never been there. I think that the human mind has difficulty acknowledging that someone may have been in prison for 50 years before they were freed. We just assume, oh, he died in prison.
I think also the human brain has a very short time span. Even Luigi Mangione, he still hasn't been sentenced to anything. It's been a year and people have pretty much all but forgotten him. This week, we had a repeat of a TikTok that I made a year ago. I had all but forgotten about him, except my friend was saying, oh, I found a great deal in the healthcare marketplace with United Healthcare. Yeah, I'm not doing that. So I do remember something.
I had an argument, and I know it wasn't this woman's fault, but it's the classic modern insurance scenario where my work pays a certain amount for my insurance every month and I pay a certain amount. And then everything I want to do, they deny me over and over again. I was talking to a lady on the phone, this is why your CEO got shot.
Delightful.
This sort of thing where you don't want to pay for my root canal, this is exactly why your CEO went down.
100%. But it wasn't because of your root canal. It was because people were being denied cancer treatments.
And I assure you that a large portion of the population has not forgot about our super hottie CEO slayer, Luigi Mangione. The thirst is real.
Oh, yeah. I haven't forgot about him also because I'm on Red Note and Red Note still talks about him all the time. If you look at TikTok, when was the last time you just randomly saw a Luigi Mangione post?
TikTok is a good example of how fast the attention span changes. Like our president kidnapping the president of Venezuela. I did comedy last night. I'm like, should I do that joke? No, because everybody has moved on to ICE brutally murdering a woman in Minnesota. Our timeline is so full of disaster. All of the time, it pushes out earlier disasters. I'm in a bit of a quandary because I've been a subscriber of the New York Times for many years, and I understand that it's not as fair and balanced as we wish it was.
Some would say it's pretty sus.
The New York Times said Nicolas Maduro said he was, quote, kidnapped, unquote. There's no quotes about it.
When somebody snatches you out of your house without your permission, that's kidnapping.
Well, when someone puts a bag over your head and puts you in a vehicle and takes you someplace, you've been kidnapped. You haven't been, quote, kidnapped. I don't know what the alternative is. Just opening up to the fire hose of information that is Threads. TikTok is a good measuring stick of how long our attention span is and our cultural memory is. Every once in a while, I'll stumble on an old TikTok and go, remember when we were all talking about Croissant Steve and the berries and cream kid?
Oh, yeah. I remember. One that I heard about recently. Did you know Marie Antoinette never actually said, let them eat cake?
Of course she didn't. She never would have because she's French anyway.
She didn't even say it in French.
Nothing about it?
It was made up after her death. Somebody was just trying to make her sound stupid.
Wow. It appeared in writing by Jean-Jacques Rousseau and was attributed to her later as anti-monarchist propaganda. Right. The original French was qu'il mangeant de la brioche, which is referring to a bread.
But he just made that up.
He just made it up.
Right. When you think about her, first you think she got her head cut off, and then you think she said that thing about let them eat cake.
The Monopoly man, doesn't he have a monocle?
I think because he's been conflated with the peanut guy.
Right. We're putting a monocle where there is none.
He should have one, though. I think they should just add it out of kindness.
I have compiled a list of Mandela effects from Google, which is imperfect. And one of the things is in Star Wars, C-3PO is believed to be all gold, but he has one silver leg. Well, Laura, as you know, he got that silver leg after he was disassembled. And Chewbacca did the best he could. He is a Wookiee.
He's a Wookiee who's a pretty fair electrician. He was also working with what he had, and he didn't have any gold parts.
That's a bit of a flaw, AI, because in the first movie, C-3PO, 100% all gold.
When C-3PO is intact, he's fully gold.
One that doesn't affect me, but it might be big on millennials. People often recall a black tip on Pikachu's tail, but it's solid yellow. His ears have a black tip, so it's easy to move that over. Another famous misquote from Star Wars, Luke, I am your father. And the line is, no, I am your father.
What did Luke say?
About Obi-Wan. He told me enough. He told me you killed him. And Darth Vader says, no, I am your father. You can see how that compresses the scene and gives you more information.
Probably someone was quoting it for some other reason. And you have to say, Luke, I'm your father, because otherwise out of context doesn't make any sense.
Right. Just like Play It Again, Sam gives more context about who's speaking, where they are. Humphrey Bogart doesn't say, you played it for Ilsa, play it for me. It makes it a more quotable quote. It makes it sticky, as we have talked about before. It makes it a sticky idea. I think a big part of this is stickiness. I had a very dull story about my own Mandela effect in my life when I trained for the Portland Marathon. One of the things they say about marathoners is it's all you talk about. And it is, because when it gets to the end of your training, you are running 12 and 15 miles on a Saturday. It's a huge chunk of your life. It's not even the physical exertion that is so difficult. It is the time. Paying attention to what you eat, when you eat it, and what you're going to wear.
It's the planning. Well, it's very similar to the podcast. This is all I talk about because this is all I do in my free time.
Right. And so I was talking about it a lot. And I was talking a lot about it at work because I worked at Nike, which is a running company. I started having people ask me, how was the marathon? But I hadn't run it yet. I was still training, and it's in another 2 months. And that has happened to me with other big events that I talk about. I'm going to record an album. I'm going to London, whatever it is. And people will ask me how it was. Oh, well, that was probably 2 weeks after she told me.
And she's been mentioning it. So I just need to be prepared. Circling back to our episode, memories are not receipts. And that's the problem with the human brain. We don't store things perfectly. We try to remember things, certain orders. And our younger brother often sends me weird pictures of 80s commercials and says, do you remember how we thought it was this, but it's actually that? Because I think also when you start to talk about something, That's how the idea gets ingrained in your brain. When you talk to your brothers and sisters about the Ghostbusters movie, those are the quotes you're going to remember.
The first time you tell a story about yourself or about your life, it's going to have all these details in it, and it's going to be convoluted, and it's going to zig this way and that way. And then every time you tell it, it becomes a more refined version, but also it can change a little bit. The first time you told a story, you might say, and I was wearing those red boots, the ones that I got from the thrift store. By the fifth telling, you might not mention the boots here. You might think black boots, and that's just how your brain will screw you up. There was an argument we used to have about a Sparkletts water.
We used to drink the New York water.
That is a Mandela effect of childhood. When I was a kid, I thought the New York seltzer water was crisp and refreshing, very, very healthy.
I thought it was very classy too. Only
classy.
The upper crust drinks this.
I had one 10 years later. It was sweet as Christ. It had so much sugar in it.
I think we were just so used to drinking insane amounts of sugar that seemed really light. I remember the first time I had an actual seltzer water, I spit it out.
This doesn't have any flavor.
This didn't have any artificial sweeteners in it. It was the same with Snapple. I remember thinking that was a really light drink.
Right. It's just sugar with a funny trivia fact on the cap. The original New York seltzer, that brand has been retreaded a couple times. Also, my boyfriend, like us, was very into it as a kid. He picked up a bottle and then he opened it up. It was literally a counterfeit original New York seltzer. It's in the category of why bother counterfeiting that?
I don't know. Why would you?
Some people remember a hyphen in the name Kit Kat, but it has always been one word. Many people recall a 1990s movie called Shazam, starring the comedian Sinbad as a genie.
Right, when in reality it was a basketball player.
Shaquille O'Neal made a movie, Kazam, but Sinbad had been in other movies. Sinbad was in a movie that I have never seen that was shot on my college campus. Sinbad was a legit movie star.
Also, it's a movie about a magical genie, and his name is Sinbad.
So we just rounding up, rounding down. We're going for the middle way, and that is sometimes not true. There's no such peanut butter as Jiffy.
Is it Jif?
It's Jif. But I've heard the phrase Jiffy peanut butter. I've heard references to it in popular culture. It's never been that.
What do you call the hot dog that has its own van that drives around?
Oscar Mayer, Meyer. Is it Mayer?
Correct.
Listeners, if your mind is being blown by any of these, or if you have other examples of Mandela effects that have affected you, you can tell us about them at hello@mysisterstherapist.com.
When you think about Mickey Mouse in Steamboat Willie, what do you remember his outfit looking like?
If it's Mickey Mouse, he's got to be wearing shorts and suspenders, right?
No, he is not wearing suspenders.
His pants are just going to come off.
They're just hanging off of his body. I think he had suspenders later, but he didn't have them then. When Sally Fields gives her famous Oscar speech, what did she say?
You like me. You really like me.
Except what she actually said was, I can't deny the fact that you like me right now. You like me. Children of the 90s probably owe their false memory to Jim Carrey's parody of the line in his film, The Mask.
Ah, see, that gets picked up and moved through the culture. In Wizard of Oz, I don't think we're in Kansas anymore, was actually Toto. I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore. And Field of Dreams, a movie that I have never seen, but I've been told the quote is, if you build it, they will come, is actually, if you build it, he will come.
Who was he?
People are yelling at their phones what the answer is right now. Oh, no. Curious George, Laura.
He doesn't have a tail?
Has no tail. How do you know he's a monkey if he has no tail?
I don't know.
I can picture him in my mind. Oh, no, he's got no tail.
I know. I'm looking at it right now. I don't. What? Margaret and H.A. Ray, what is wrong with you?
What's wrong with you taking this tail off of this monkey?
What does Mr. Rogers sing in the opening of his song? It's a beautiful day.
In the neighborhood?
No.
What is it?
In reality, it's a beautiful day in this neighborhood. What the hell, Mr. Rogers?
What the heck?
What the hell heck?
An article by Brian Dunning about this says, if Fiona Broome had been a cognitive psychologist instead of a psychic ghost hunter, the idea of a Mandela effect might never have existed. Our brains confabulate invented memories to fill in the gaps inherent in our memories. We misattribute later memories to earlier events, gradually replacing what we actually heard in the movie theater to the pop culture version. And most of all, we simply forget things that weren't all that important to begin with. And when we hear a close version later, we adopt it as a good enough replacement. When that new version is a common one, perhaps made public in the media, many of us will adopt it and replace the old fuzzy memory. It is not necessary to introduce concepts like parallel dimensions or alternate realities.
I think it isn't necessary, and this person's a liar. They always say you need to get an eyewitness testimony right after the crime is committed because there's a thing called post-event information. This was what you were talking about and what I was talking about in the mask thing where they changed the words. Misleading post-event information. I'm watching a new show, which I really enjoy if anyone's interested. It's called Deadlock, and it's about a policewoman in Australia in this little weird town, and there's a lot of weird stuff happening. They were talking in Deadlock about how important it was to get the eyewitness testimony right away, because as time goes on, stuff gets more and more weird. With the mask, that information is going to screw up your memory about Sally Field's acceptance speech. This includes even subtle information and helps to explain why eyewitness testimony can be unreliable.
From Simply Psychology, a 2020 memory study from the Journal of Psychological Science found when asked to recall information, 76% of adults made at least one detectable error. Just reading this quote, I know that if you asked me in 45 minutes what the journal was, I would say Psychology Today, because that is more common and that is easier for me to reach than psychological science.
They do better advertising for Psychology Today.
The most intriguing thing about the Mandela effect is not that we've screwed up, because we screw up all the time. It's the shared cultural memory.
Yeah, it's a mass hysteria. We all believe it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, to the point where when a documentary came out about Mr. Rogers, that's what it was called. It was not called A Beautiful Day in This Neighborhood. It was called A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
All the way to the documentary, it screws up. We all live in the same culture. We all speak variations of the same language. So we're all making tiny adjustments that create faulty memory.
It's just funny to me that all of us are doing it.
Right.
Because there's lots of things that I personally get wrong and everyone else says, oh, that's wrong. But the fact that us as a huge group of people, swaths and swaths of people, all think it's Bearenstain, it's pretty nuts.
Meet the Flintstones.
They're a modern Stone Age family.
A lot of people drop the T, Flintstones.
Flintstones. Oh yeah, I don't use a T. It's Flintstones?
Flintstones, because flint is a stone.
I mean, dummy. I get it, but what?
It's a pun, like most things.
That's a crappy pun. Hey, meet the Flintstones. Who says that? Nobody.
In psychology, the phenomenon of priming is where exposure to stimulus directly influences someone's response to a succeeding stimulus. If I'm going to ask you for a color, I might prime you by saying, what are things that are in the sky? You might say clouds or stars or airplanes. And then you say, and what's a color? You might say blue, because your mind has already been on sky.
There's an English hypnotist named Darren Brown, and he does this crazy experiment with multiple people. I think there's 15 people in this group. He sets it up so that he controls their life from the taxi to the location. And he has placed all of these priming elements into the location. He said, I'm going to stand here and draw something. I'm going to read your mind about what it is. And then he turns the page over and it's exactly what they were thinking. Right. But it's because he has primed their brains for the previous 30 minutes before they even walked into the room.
That's so wild. I've been someplace and I talked to this other person and they say, oh, and did you see where I left a sticker or I left a poster? And I didn't see that at all because it's not important to me, but it's important to them. Their memory of it is larger than my memory of it. If something applies to you, your memory of it will become outsized. And if it doesn't, it'll become minimized. During a DRM task paradigm, participants read a list of related words. Here is an example of a list below: guitar, piano, accordion, harmonica, flute. After reading the list, researchers will ask the subjects to say whether or not they recall what is called a lure word. I would ask, was violin on that list? Some participants would report that they recall the lure word even if it never was on the list because it's in that same file.
The way your brain stored it. I would have said clarinet because it's a woodwind.
People remember false memories generated by the DRM task paradigm for as long as 60 days. So that's how easy you can create a false memory. I find when I misremember stuff, I will misremember or reassign the order of things for an ironic ending. I introduced myself to someone and he said something rude, which is a pun on my name. In my memory, I was telling the story to my therapist and talking about how I need to let it go and I don't want to continue having a bunch of grudges, as we just covered in a recent podcast. Already, I had formed the memory that he apologized to me after my set and after I'd done very well on stage, but I don't actually think he did. I think he apologized before my set, that he had just gone and sat down and felt bad about it. I had put it in an order where it had more impact and was cinematic.
It fits a better narrative.
It's a more interesting, sticky narrative. Recognizing false memories. If you ask a person a pointed question, like if I said to you, Nelson Mandela, he died in prison, right? Or did Nelson Mandela die in prison? Those are going to increase the odds of you saying yes.
This is why hypnosis is so tricky when people are trying to remember things. A lot of people will call me and say, I need to find out if this event really happened in my life. And I will say, absolutely not, because I can heavily influence the way that you think about that event. I would rather do EMDR, which is just working with your own memories rather than me making suggestions.
Because even small word choices from you can influence the stories that they start telling themselves. And you're not always going to be completely neutral in that.
Right. And this happens in the interrogation room all the time in police stations. People say words in a certain way because they're trying to influence the person to remember things the way that they've decided that they happened.
It's like in scientific experiments, you have to have your theorem that you're trying to prove or disprove. Police have the same thing. If we picked out 5 people from the scene of the crime, we want one of them to have done it.
Right.
And so they might incorrectly guide a witness to pick one of the options because they want an answer.
Circling back to deadlock, because this is happening in this little tiny town, they have to bring an external police detective in. And this woman does not want to be in this tiny town. She's not interested in being there. She is trying to find the lowest hanging fruit to answer the question about these murders. She totally screws up the whole investigation because she has a narrative that is clean and easy, but it does not fit what's actually happening.
Looking at this article you sent me, an example of the Oscar Mayer, probably we spell it wrong because the commercials say it much more like Meyer than Mayer.
My baloney goes by one name. It's OSCAR. My baloney has a second name. It's MAYE. They even spelled it out for you, Virginia.
Doesn't help. Oh, I also want to say Steamboat Willie has now passed out of copyright.
Yeah, that's why I've started making my sister's a therapist branded items with Steamboat Willie on them.
So you can make Steamboat Willie do anything. He can smoke a fat blunt.
Maybe I could make a Sora video with Steamboat Willie.
He can punch an ICE agent in the face. He can do whatever. This article has another effed up thing about C-3PO. Given the lower resolution of older films and the character often being shot from the waist up, it's no surprise that we discover he had a silver leg all along. He didn't.
No, did not. Now you're trying to influence my thinking, article writer. Luckily, you're dating a super nerd and you can get your facts straight.
Ways to become victim to the Mandela Effect: confabulation, your brain fills in the gaps by itself. Misleading post-event information, your example, why eyewitness testimony can be unreliable. Priming, having someone try to point you towards
or not even try. I don't even have to try. That's why I won't do hypnosis for people who are trying to remember something. I can say some random word and it will influence the way that you think about the events.
I think the most significant aspect to this is the internet. The internet has become our cultural global memory. It's like song lyrics. If one website gets a song lyric wrong, every other lyric distributor, Spotify and Yahoo, and everybody's going to get from that same origin spot. So they're all going to be wrong. In this way, if one person gets something wrong, but it gets spread far enough, it's all wrong. And that's why AI is never going to replace Wikipedia.
I had a client the other day who was telling me some pretty solid advice that AI had given her about relationships and dating. And she said, well, do you agree with the things that AI said? And I said, I agree with the topics, but AI didn't say anything. These were all scraped from the internet from actual therapists and other intellectuals. And she was really surprised. She didn't realize that AI wasn't just coming up with this stuff on its own.
C-3PO has a silver leg the whole time.
Are you serious? That can't be right.
Many people didn't notice because the silver blended in with the gold costume and desert surroundings. But it was
why is his leg silver?
Either the whole internet is wrong,
which is possible, or we jump to timeline. You have to remember that. That's always within the realm of possibility.
If it is incorrect and his leg is silver from the jump, I have made up this story because I know that Chewbacca repaired him.
I think also my brain is trying to make sense of the situation. Why would he have a silver leg?
Right.
Because it doesn't make any sense. He's a perfectly sound, clean, brand new looking robot. Why would he have one leg that was silver when the rest of his body is gold?
The Kenner toy, he's all gold.
Yes.
The action figure did not have a silver leg.
See, that's an influence too, because we had that at our house.
All right. Well, we're gonna dig into this silver leg business. Oh wait,
this is important.
Why am I doing this? I can call someone.
Yeah, that's what I said. Call him or text him or something.
Hello. This is the first time on the podcast, My Sister's a Therapist, that we've tried to phone a friend. We're doing an episode about the Mandela Effect, and a lot of the internet believes that C-3PO always had a silver leg, even in New Hope.
Uh-huh. Is that true? And if so, why?
It is true.
Why?
Why does the action figure have a gold leg?
Too difficult to make two colors.
Wow. All right. Well,
but what is the reason? Why does he have a silver leg?
He has a silver leg because part of the storytelling was that he had been repaired, that he was an older droid. He had had adventures before this adventure.
I see. Oh, I am so disappointed.
And you also see him in the beginning of Star Wars walking with another protocol droid that's totally silver.
Yeah.
So you know that there are ones in other colors. And
I see. Okay.
The silver leg is not obvious. A lot of the time we didn't see it in very good quality.
And it was a lower res image. He was in the desert. Everything around him is yellow.
But I really feel like the action figure is the thing that led me astray.
It's kind of hard to tell.
Well, we want to say thank you to Expert Witness.
We appreciate you.
We appreciate you.
Thank God. We Mandela ourselves.
We really did.
There's no doubt in my mind that both of his legs have always been gold.
Laura, what are your final thoughts on this topic?
I feel bamboozled. I feel like a fool. I feel like a babe in the woods. Can I trust anything anymore?
Can I trust my own eyes? Obviously, I can't trust my brain. I always think I can.
That's why the brain is inherently flawed. Reference: memories are not receipts. My final thoughts are the human brain is dumb and we need to stop listening to it. I think mass hysteria makes sense. I think we all do it, especially you and me. We lived in the same house, so we had the same action figure to look at. He didn't have a silver leg. I feel ripped off by that. Our 3 pounds of soft tofu really isn't cutting it.
Not doing the job. Maybe we should just scoop it out and put a robot brain in there and be right all the time.
Make sure it has a silver leg. So, Virginia, what are your final thoughts on this topic?
My final thoughts, even when I'm in my most confident, I could be wrong. And to release the responsibility of being right about pop culture things, because it's not always going to be true. My brain is not only 3 pounds, it's about 60% fat. What can it do?
Exactly. Never feel safe in your certainty, because everything could be wrong at any time. Always check with the internet, but don't check with AI. If somebody wants to take their 3 pounds of tofu out to a comedy show, how would they go about finding out more about your comedy career?
If you'd like to see live comedy by me, Virginia Jones, I keep a calendar on www.badinia.com, BADINIA. If you would like to see recordings of me doing comedy, increasingly that's on my Instagram, which is Badinia, or my TikTok, which is Badinia. Laura, where can people find you on the internet should they wish to do so?
If they're interested in my professional website, they can find me at lauraryan.org. If they're living in the state of Texas and would like to get therapy professionally, you can find me there. If you're interested in my very unprofessional TikTok account, you can find me at I am Laura Ryan on TikTok. If you're interested in conversing with the show and potentially having your own personal corner, you can find us on My Sister's a Therapist on Instagram. Also, if you want to find all the episodes in one place, you can go to mysistersatherapist.com. Virginia, if anyone wants to reach out to the show, how would they go about doing that?
If you want to write us your theory about Chewbacca and C-3PO and his leg, you can write us at hello@mysistersatherapist.com. If you want to tell us, how did we screw up Oscar Mayer, even when they tell us how to spell it in the commercial, you can write us at hello@mysistersatherapist.com. If you want us to sell vegetarian hot dogs or to take a drive in the Oscar Mayer mobile, which I really would like to do, you can write us at hireus@mysistersatherapist.com.
Also, if you work for Imperfect Foods, Liquid Death, Waterloo, Sunday Riley, AAA, or Costco, I'm currently wearing a Kirkland sweatshirt to impress people because I'm such a big fan of their products.
Although I will say, I think Liquid Death has fallen off. I saw this week that they had come out with an energy drink.
Oh, brother. Going in the wrong direction.
Going in that wrong direction.
Getting too bro for me.
Laura, Sometimes you share a nice thing someone has written us in this part of the show. Item 1, if you are a listener and you would like to let your opinion be heard on this podcast, please write us an email or write us a review on Amazon, Audible, or Apple or Spotify.
We have an email from Jim Parker. Jim Parker said, the universe brought me your It's a Wonderful Life podcast episode. I heard your message exactly when I needed it. Thank you for this wonderful synchronicity and happy holidays. Thank you, Jim.
That's wonderful. I'm so glad that you were touched by our interpretation of It's a Wonderful Life. As we are inspired by Frank Capra, so are we inspired by the words of our spiritual founder, Billy Ray Valentine Capricorn. As he said, we can make it, baby.
Me and you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.